we are going to go ahead and get started. Thank you guys so much for the time, for your patience, for being here in this room. Our session is The Hustle is the Safety Net, Building Side Businesses and Multiple Streams of Income. Raise your hand if you got multiple streams of income right now. Okay, so we got some areas of opportunity, which is why we wanted to have this conversation. When you think about TC BANDD, what we focus on is really that professional development. But we also recognize this moment that we're in, where we're looking at the economic landscape as we hear about restructures, as we hear about layoffs, government shutdowns, folks not able to put food on the table, or that there's a lot of uncertainty that's happening. We also need to be thinking about what can we do to control some of those conditions, having an opportunity to have more than one or two income streams. And so this conversation was really important. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Dronelle Foster. I'm a senior executive in financial services. I work at a Fortune 50 organization, so I am a W-2 earner. I will also tell you that I am the founder and CEO of an organization called Black Girl Wanders, where I share travel stories, experiences, and really focus on trying to build more Black and brown folks in those travel stories where they can see themselves in their stories. What I'm really excited about is the panelists that we have today. And so when you think about just some amazing, amazing people that are here in our market, I always say that we're one handshake away from our next opportunity, and these folks have just done all amazing work. Both have worked in financial services, are currently working in financial services. So they have very successful businesses. And so we want to talk about today, either making the leap from being a W-2 earner to being a business owner, or having a side hustle, whatever the case may be. But we have some expertise that we're going to be able to lean into, knowledge that we'll be able to tap into to help us with this. So what I'm going to quickly do, you can turn the volume down. What I'm going to quickly do is just do a quick intro, and then they're going to do their own intro about their business, about their why. But I really want you to know who the folks are that are in front of you. What we will do, we're going to correct for some of the time loss, but we will have some opportunities for y'all to ask some questions as well, so be prepared for that. But first, to my immediate left, we have the founder and CEO of Black Business Enterprises, Nancy Corsall. She leads a global network of 72,000 entrepreneurs focused on access to capital, business development, and community support. So can you put your hands together for Nancy Corsall? Next, we have Darren Hayes, executive chef with Flame Mobile Kitchen, widely recognized for his culinary leadership, community-centered approach, but also he's been in financial services for over 30 years. So a round of applause for Darren as well. And I think when we get into this conversation, you're going to hear about the richness, the diversity, the complexity of these individuals. And so I'm really, really excited. Nancy, I'm going to have you start us out first and give us more about your business, what drew you to your space, what's your why, and who do you serve?
Absolutely. Hello. Okay, thank you so much for having me today, Janelle. So I'm Nancy Corsall, founder of Black Business Enterprises. That's only one of 8 businesses that I run, and I serve my community, Black and brown folks here in Minneapolis and beyond. Black Business Enterprises is in 40 states and 22 countries. So I have a very wide network that I've curated. And my why, I would like to be poor. That's the truth, right? Having one stream of income is too close to none. That's my why. And I moved to this country as an immigrant in 2001 with nothing. And coming here feels like there's just too many opportunities to do little. So that's my why.
And who do you serve?
And I serve small business owners, entrepreneurs, and really community members. I believe everyone has a great idea within them. So if anyone that's willing to do more than just the average.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Darren, let's hear about you.
So first, I'm a born and raised resident of Minnesota, born in the historic Rondo area. I want to get that in because I know we have a lot of transplants and folks tend to
Sound
think
like
that.
there's some people over that way.
Yeah, I'm just saying, some people, Flame Mobile Kitchen, is my side hustle. Flame Mobile Kitchen, we are a full service provider. We do private chef services. We do corporate catering. We do special events. We have a food truck. We're available through a lot. There's also a couple aspects involved with Flame that aren't quite as public. We're also doing workforce development in terms of bringing folks into the culinary industry. We also do become a broker for other caterers, other food businesses where we are able to bring under our umbrella and transact and offer a wide range of services since you're trying to corner the market in the culinary arena. So that's what we do. And then again, I also am, like I said, a 30+ year financial services professional in corporate downtown here for a Fortune company as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for just setting the tone for the conversation. I think one of the things that I want to jump into is just for those that are considering starting a business, either it be a side hustle, whether it be the business. I was thinking back to the pandemic, and in the pandemic, when it happened, for the first time, they said they seen more Black-owned businesses in a quarter of a century than they had ever. And we know that there's more and more Black businesses that are starting, they're launching, maybe there's ideas, but maybe they're full blown. What are some things that folks should be thinking about as they're thinking about a business, a passion that they can monetize, what have you? What would be some of the thoughts you would toss out there?
Well, first, you're absolutely right. During the pandemic, Black business enterprises actually helped file over 5,000 LLCs. It was insane. And I love seeing it for us. Number one, think of a problem and be the solution. Don't just copy what someone else is doing because you see them making money. Okay, because favor is placed upon people differently, right? So find a problem, be the solution, and make sure it's actually your passion. I've seen a lot of people start businesses that they were not passionate about, and although they were incredible businesses that could yield, immense profits, they still failed because they were not passionate about it. So that would be my number one thing I would say to people.
I would agree with that as well. The one thing I would add to that is once you find out what it is that you're going to do, educate yourself, right? Find somebody in the industry if you're doing something that's similar. Find out what it takes to start a business. Go online. There's classes that can be offered. Do the education, what it takes if you need to be licensed, where you need to operate. So the more you educate yourself, the more you prepare yourself, the more successful you're going to be. There's a ton of businesses that get started. And we always talk about the numbers that's where they start, but we don't talk about the numbers where they fail. And a lot of reasons they fail is because they haven't done the work, they're not prepared, and then again, understanding, we'll get into this a little later, I'm sure, but you're going to understand the outlay of time. There's no side hustle that comes to you that's really a side hustle. If you have a full-time job and you start something else, it's another full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the 9 to 5, and then you have a 5 to 9 or 5 to 9 and beyond.
I have a 9 to 5, and then after that, I find where I can sleep a little bit.
So let's talk about that, unpack that a little bit more. What does it look like being in a corporate space, but also having a thriving business? How are you managing the day-to-day, but also managing the day-to-day later?
So I took a little bit different route in terms of what I in my corporate career, understanding where I wanted to focus on, because I want what I'm doing on the side to be my 9 to 5, right? That's the ultimate goal for most people, is to replace what they're doing with what they want to do. And if you have something with your passion, then it becomes work, not work versus the job that is work. So I kind of took a back seat in terms of what it is. I stepped back from my role. I became an individual contributor and found where I can help and assist that, as opposed to continuing to lead. And so that way my outlay of commitment could be a little bit less in terms of hours at work. And then that allowed me to put that effort and those energy and those hours into my side.
So you're real intentional around your future steps at the
It
corporation.
was real intentional about understanding what I was doing and how corporately it was going to impact, and also real intentional to understand, you hear the term, especially in corporate, work-life balance. That becomes especially true when you become an entrepreneur, because if you have to find the time to still be yourself, to be a husband, a wife, a father, friend, a mentor, etc. Work-life balance becomes especially more important because now you're fitting that in to a much smaller window in terms of what it is. So you have to be really strategic.
Nancy, talk to us about walking away from corporate and coming and doing, I mean, you said 8 businesses, that's a lot. I don't know how many you were doing, if you could just talk about that and then making the decision to stop being a W-2 employee and doing your own thing full-time.
Well, I actually have some of my past colleagues there from my previous bank that I worked at, and I have to say this, when I worked at the bank in Charlotte, North Carolina, I was an entrepreneur back then, and they were gracious enough to allow me to work upstairs on my 9 to 5, and they allowed me to open my boutique downstairs at the headquarters. I don't know how I got that past through HR. I don't know how that happened, but the caveat was I could not work in there. I had to have a full-time employee. So I was never in a rush to walk away because I was creative enough to ask, to get permission to do both under the same roof, which I still, when I think
2 checks were coming in.
2 checks were coming in. And then I realized, wait a minute, I'm making more downstairs than I am upstairs. And even then I wasn't in a rush to leave. So I paced myself. Then I moved to Minneapolis. I was still working for corporate. And I then had 3 more businesses and also a toothpick company in Accra, Ghana, right? So I'm running multiple things. My day check, my 9 to 5 check is funding all these businesses. I'm not in a rush to leave. I was never in a rush to leave because not only did they support my endeavors, actually, they also they made it simple enough for me to still enjoy my job, my full-time position, and still pour into myself, that work-life balance. I finally had to remove myself when it became obvious that I didn't need that 9 to 5 check.
But there's something about having a safety net with a 9 to 5
Love
check,
safety net.
but you also have to be conscious, or like this is a time to
Yes.
kind of untether yourself.
The moment I felt like I was doing a disservice to my employer, I felt like I had to leave because they poured too much into me in 10 years. I got a promotion every single year in March. That, to me, that's pouring into me and developing me and caring about me, right? Of course, I hustled and I worked really hard, but the moment I felt that I wasn't given 100%, and remember, you can do many things, but sometimes it's like you can have 2 gods, right? You love one and forsake the other. Well, I was starting to give it like 90%, 70%. The moment I hit that 70%, I felt like it's time to go.
Yeah.
And I cried a little because I love falling on that two-week paycheck. But it was time to walk away, and best decision I've ever made. Because I did almost quadruple my income, and I don't think I would have ever reached that just staying at my 9 to 5.
I'm gonna add something to that really quick. The part of it is also develop your exit plan. Those of you that were here for the last session, you heard about, being a plan for finances. That becomes more important because a lot of times you take for granted that you have a 401k, that you have insurance, that you may have some disability, that you have some short-term, long-term, all these things that come with being in a corporate environment. Once you leave and become an entrepreneur, those things you have to do on your own. So now is a good time if you're making that exit plan. Include all your finances in there, get with a financial advisor, get with someone that does life insurance, begin to understand that all of these things that you may take for granted in your corporate environment, you need to plan out for to be able to continue as an entrepreneur.
That's a good call out. The other thing I'm thinking about is skills, transferable skills. What did y'all take from the corporate gig into your professional businesses? I mean, did everything come with you? Were there new skills that you had to acquire? Darren, you talked about just surrounding yourself, the network, mentorship. Like, how did you guys find all these things that you needed at these different stages on the journey?
Can I go first? So I have to say the name. So I work for Wells Fargo. They made me a superhuman. I'll say this. Transferable skills. I didn't realize that while I was working at the bank, I really learned to be organized. Everyone knows I'm a creative. I sew, I create things. I'm not really that organized, or so I thought. But because of that position, I was able to really understand that everything that I was doing while at the bank was becoming more and more organized, being able to be strategic, also delegating, and now I'm able to run a whole team under me. But that's because at the bank, I had a team that I oversaw. It was obvious that all of those skills were acquired while at the bank. Another great point is realizing that not only was that 9 to 5 necessary, it was the only reason why I started my businesses, right? Once I realized that I didn't want to work for someone, and I love freedom. I want to be able to pick up and go to Ghana for a month. I want to go to Italy for a month. That's when I realized that the time that I had left there, I had to learn as much as possible. And the connections that I got from the bank, they reached so far, because once I left, I was still in touch with everyone that I met, and they were extremely beneficial to my journey as a business owner, still to this day.
So your network, you leaned in on that network, I would imagine as well. Darren, what would you add to that?
So networking is absolutely key. Once you start, it's about being able to introduce your services and what you do. Also, the same thing for corporate, it's planning. Every year you have a certain set of performance goals, you have a certain set of metrics that you're expected to meet, and then from that, you're able to identify, am I successful? Am I meeting my goals? Am I exceeding my goals? You need to do that the same way as an entrepreneur. In terms of transferable skills for me is really on the communication customer service side, right? What I'm offering at the end of the day is going to be a service. And for me to be able to sell that service, I need to be able to communicate effectively with my customers or potential customers. I need to be able to develop something that's going to market, that's going to connect with people. So being able to communicate and network and having to talk to people, those are probably my biggest transferable skills.
Go and talk to us about being an a chef. So a culinary skill, obviously your job didn't help you be an executive chef. Talk about your services, how to market your services. What are the things that you had to learn how to do to go and do this business deal? Flame Mobile, even talk about Flame Mobile Kitchen and where y'all show up and again, who you serve. But if you can just double click on that piece.
Well, the one thing is always improving yourself. So the one thing I had to do is continue to cook and to continue to improve the way that I cook. And expand what I cook. Just a little bit of background. When we started 5 years ago, we started out as a food truck, and I literally, for the first summer, we had 3 ingredients. We served ribs, we served chicken, we had coleslaw. That was it. That's pretty much what we did the entire time. Now the menu includes Jamaican food, Italian food, Mexican food, it's breakfast, it's lunch, it's dinner, it's private chef, it's large events, it's small caterers, drop-offs like upstairs where we're doing breakfast. So it's one is continuing to work on my craft and expand my craft. The other thing is where Flame started was also, you heard Nancy say, find a problem and then become a solution. When COVID hit, one of the first things that happened, we began to see just a swath of restaurants closing because we were shut down, and people are still going to eat.
Yeah.
That's primarily why I'm in this business. I have a service that people want. Everybody's going to eat. So it was an opportunity to step in and fill the gap in terms of easier way for me to be able to get out there, because now I can be in a space, I can be outside, people can be there comfortably social distance and still be able to, and hopefully I can still create a same or better experience in terms of them coming out without them being in the confines of a restaurant and being fearful what they had. So that was my problem, and the solution is when I started, and to find a gap and to be able to bring a service. And the other part in terms of who we serve, You know, I mentioned what we do, so it's just about everybody. If you eat, we're gonna find a way to feed you. But it was also important for me, or us, when we started our business, uh, coming from a community that tends to have a lot of health problems, and a lot of those health problems are driven by diet, or in some cases, inability to access the right food. A lot of our neighbors have food deserts. And so one of the things I wanted to be able to show is being able to cook the same size types of food in a different way that could be healthier. One of the easiest signatures is I love fried food. I love me some fried chicken, some fried catfish.
I think we all do.
But as a business venture, we made a decision that we won't fry. You can't come to Flame and ask us for fried food. We can smoke it, grill it, you know, barbecue it, blacken it, whatever it's gonna be, but we're not gonna fry it. Why? Because those that will give you a different way to serve the same foods, but it's also, those are the things that continue to drive the health issues that we have. And we wanted to be a service to our community, as well as being able to have a growing version of business, being able to show our community there's different ways to eat these meals and be healthy as well, and still be nourished, still have a great dining
So you're
experience.
not contributing to the problem.
I'm not contributing, well, that's a lie. I would love to believe that my food is so good that you're gonna eat more than you normally would.
About not even fried.
Yeah, so that way it's not fried. I'm not doing the unsaturated fat contribution.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love the mission, the purpose, and the why. Nancy, I want to talk to you and just thinking about your impact. You know, BDE, everyone knows about BDE. And if you guys don't know, you're learning today about your business and how massive, you know, the people that you've touched and how you've helped folks start, scale, grow these businesses. Talk about why you decided that was the swim lane for you and why that was so important.
Yes, well, first I will repeat again in case you missed it. One stream of income is too close to zero. So I'm a giver, full stop. So when I came into this community, moved to America, and I realized how many opportunities and, you know, African Americans paved the way for me to be able to do whatever I want here. And I feel it every day because I get things done. I wanted to create this platform because I realized how brilliant we are, but also how we didn't have enough places to walk in and say, hey, can I get help to get this started? Capital is always an issue. And I hope I'm not wrong, but everyone in this room is here because you may be thinking about a business or you currently have a business. Not everybody's a business owner, okay? Not everybody's gonna be a business owner. Some people are just gonna fail. Some people are meant to do their 9 to 5s. But I wanted to create a place for the people that had even the thought of, I have an idea. Anybody seen the news, the gentleman that created the Super Soaker finally got his royalties? How much was it?
Okay.
Millions and millions of dollars. I wanted to create a place where you have that support and you don't have to wait 50 years to get what's due to you. So, and being able to create things that you can actually have your mark and your stamp on it and have the support around you to grow whatever it is that it's in your mind. Many of the things that we see to this day were created by us, for us, by us, and we just often enough don't get the credit. BBE was created so number one, we can get the credit, have the community around us to support us. You start a business, you don't have $1,000 a month to market it. So I wanted to help bring community together. So the moment you start your business, we're doing a business shower. We're telling everyone about you. We're screaming at the top of our lungs about you, and we're creating platforms and spaces, especially space. A lot of people can't even run their business because they don't have space. You can use our space for free. So we wanted to create that and have a platform and a place where you can call family and we can help you bring your business idea to fruition.
No, that's beautiful. And again, a business here in this market that people know of, that people are tapped into in the community. You know, there's so much community and mentorship that is provided, the resources that are wrapped around those folks. I want to quickly pivot. I was just thinking about recently, I just came from Afrotech. Afrotech is one of the largest Black tech conferences in the country. And, you know, it's not just about technology, it's about culture, it's about businesses. There were so many people in the room that were influencers, podcasters, all the things. a number of different types of businesses. And I'm just curious to know, what are some of those entry points, those emerging businesses? And Nancy, maybe you could start, but what you're seeing, like what are people gravitating to as you think about entrepreneurship?
Well, I can tell you two things, right? What we should be gravitating to and what's happening. So what's happening is we're still too safe, right? Sometimes we're going into businesses that they're the easiest to start, they're the most popular, and we just assume that that's what our customer wants. So we started, right? And sometimes you have to leave the businesses to the greats, best shrimp and grits in the country. Everybody and their mama wants to cater. Who told you your food is good?
Ooh.
I know that didn't come out right.
I told you, where'd you test?
Told you, so there's a lot of people that have started, I see that gentleman sitting like, yes, sometimes you try people's food and you're like, who told you could cook? This is not for you. And guys, if you come to PBE, I'm brutally honest, okay, because sometimes a lot of people lose a lot of money because people were too nice to them and wouldn't tell them the truth. I will tell you the truth, okay? Who told you to start that business? So a lot of catering companies, a lot of just simple things. Okay, I'm gonna braid, now realizing, wait a minute, you could develop arthritis after a few years. How can we scale this business if your hands always and forever have to be your moneymaker? Right? So trying to get people to think outside the box. When I started my toothpick company, everybody was laughing at me, and now I supply half of Ghana and I import Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, and many other African countries. So think of the smallest thing that's available that nobody's thinking about, right? My grandma actually runs a farm where they farm maggots. I know, it sounds crazy. Please hear me out. Maggots, that's what farmers use for feed. There's tons of farmers globally that are importing, exporting maggots. And you're thinking, maggots, Nancy, you're crazy. It's the smallest thing. What is something that solves something that is so small that no one else will think about? Do that. That's what you should be doing.
So the demand, again,
Yes.
solving a problem.
Solving a problem, and technology, of course, is the future, but don't forget though, there's still a lot of things that technology can never touch. That you can't, I mean, maybe you can grow maggots with AI, I don't know, but think of things that not everyone else is doing, okay? Not everything is for you. Think of those little things that are absolute necessities where no one else is looking.
Yeah. Darren, talk a little bit about, misconceptions about being a business owner. What are one or two misconceptions that people have?
One of the things, the misconceptions is if as a business owner, you're doing your job right, it looks easy, right? You get that, "Oh, I can do that, Darren cooks, I can cook. Nancy has a podcast, I can do a podcast, right? It looks easy. Probably that's for me, that's the biggest misconception. It's not easy, right? It takes work. No one, when they started Apple, that's an easy example. They started in a garage. They weren't in the garage for like 3 days and then came out and became a global company, right? They spent a good amount of time. Facebook started as a social networking company that they built. But those were kids in college that spent this time developing this. They gave up their social lives and wanted to create something better. So it's not easy. That's the biggest misconception. It's not easy. The other misconception is people tend to want to avoid to do something because of the existing competition. My business partner is very quick to say, you typically can find a McDonald's across the street from every Burger King. There's enough. There's no one that's cornered the market. People are going to eat. People are going to have slight preferences. So do not let competition in terms of who's out there doing what you do make you fearful and make you apprehensive. If you do your homework, you do it the right way, you take the time to learn, and you get out there and do what's necessary around the business, you're not going to have to worry about the competition. All you're going to have to worry about is bettering yourself.
That. Anything you would add to that, Nancy?
It's not easy. I mean, I've sent emails at 4 AM to some of you guys. I'm a nocturnal animal. It's not easy, and also don't count business owners' pockets, okay? Sometimes I have people trying to charge me double just because I'm Nancy. So it's not easy, of course. It takes grit. You just see the final product. You may see my headquarters, which is walking distance, by the way, you should come and visit. And say, oh, wow, it's beautiful. Well, I spent 3 months building it with my own hands and feet on my knees, which I don't recommend when you're in your 40s. Hire somebody. But just know that everything that you see took time, patience, grit, money to create. And also know that it doesn't matter if you get a million no's. That's the not easy part, right? All of us have gotten many, many no's. Even if you get those no's, you can still get there. So that's the part. So yes, it's not easy, but the misconception is that if you fail 100 times, you won't make it. You have to fail to make it.
So, I wanna come back to this for a second, but we're gonna take some audience, questions. I'm sure many of you have questions lined up. Again, we have an expert panel here, so get those queued up. But I'm curious to know, was there ever a time where you like, the work is so hard, I don't wanna do it, that maybe I should consider stopping and not continuing the journey? Was there ever that moment, that thought? Um,
2 out of 8 businesses, yes, every Tuesday I quit.
every Tuesday?
I wanna be honest, every Tuesday morning at 8 AM, I'm like, you know what, forget it, I'm done. What is this even? Um, that's the honest truth. Um, yes, we all have those moments. There's some, I love to bring up the toothpick business because I'm just shocked at how easy it is and how well it's doing. That one's the no-brainer. When you have businesses that involve, people. People are different, people change, they evolve. Money's up, money's down. Our orange Cheeto in office is raging maniac. A lot of changes, right, that affect our businesses, right? My nonprofit is affected by him. So there's so much happening, and so many changes. You have to learn to pivot in business. So no matter what happens, you're able to still ride the wave and not sink. So that's what I'll say.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, there was a
I truly thought about putting it up. Again, like I said, you have a 9 to 5 and you decide to do something else. You're signing on for, at a minimum, another full-time job. You're signing on to having adverse impacts in your personal relationships because of your commitment. You're signing on to not being able to do all the social things that you used to do. You're signing on to not traveling. You're signing on to a lot of things if you're going to be dedicated to getting this business. And there are times you're looking at it going, I haven't been on vacation. Oh my God, I see these people on Facebook and their fake lives on Facebook. But it looks, but you think about it, when is the reward for the work that I'm doing really there, right? Because you want to see this, you see these success stories, you see people, as Nancy said, you check in other people's pockets and they look like they're doing the right thing. It's not always the case, but they look like they're doing this and you start to have some doubt. And then there's also the external factors, political environment, COVID, when that hits, we've seen businesses, how the economy is doing, how costs change in terms of what's relative to your business. There's 1,000 reasons plus to figure out a way to give up, right? And that's the easy way out. So yes, absolutely think about it all the time, but then you have to, what am I in this for? What am I doing this for? What is my driving force? Where do I want to be? And if I give up on this, am I still going to get there doing other means? So that's the thing that drives me, because what I'm thinking and where I want to get to, I believe my opportunity is on my entrepreneurial side, not my corporate side.
I love that. I also love that legacy for you. Your daughter also works with you. Can you talk a little bit about how this is becoming a family business?
So here's the honest truth. This business started because of my daughter. And same thing for my business partner because of his daughter, right? We, on one respect, wanted to be able to find something to where, we talked about it before, we can leave a legacy for our kids behind us. So hopefully that they have something that's going to provide them some income, provide them some opportunity without them having to really, sweat and labor for it the same way we did. You want to make your life better for your kids. So this started for me, it literally was, I have two daughters. My oldest was All-American athlete. And both myself and her mother played sports in college. So that was an easy investment, but it was significant time and monetary investment. My youngest didn't want to, she was just as athletic, but that was not her interest. And then in the high school, we found that her interest was culinary. So trying to be the father the same way as my other kid, I invested time and resources and opportunity behind her and being able to cook. And then we found out, number one, as marvelous as I think I am, she can cook me every day. That's Nancy, that includes the grits too. It does. I know it does. But we found, it was a shared passion, it was an opportunity to connect with her. And then as we begin to do this started because we started inviting people and having people over and trying this and being at events and doing small catering. And then it was like, hey, this might be something viable. So, she's critical to this journey in terms of what my focus is, where I want to do it for, but also she's been the motivating factor for getting this started. And she still is my biggest resource in terms of, I want to bounce something off her, I want to try something new. Let's sit down and figure this out. Let's go see a competition. Let's sit down and watch Top Chef on TV, whatever it is. So she continues to be a motivational factor for me to continue to move forward.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Love that. And she's in the restaurant business too, outside of that. So studying the craft. So again, lots of information that we shared. I want to make sure that you all have an opportunity to tap into the knowledge that we have here. I love to see a few folks raise their hands if you have questions. If not, I could keep going because I got a hit list, but I would love for this to be interactive and for you to be able to ask your question. And if you could tell us your name and go with your question.
Hi, my name is Veronique. I'm an undergrad student at St. Catherine University. So to preface my question, I'll just give a little information. In high school and in college currently, I had some side hustles like here and there. The ones in high school were more because of what I was already doing in school, so I got those opportunities that way. In college, it has been a bit harder because most of those are through my school. And so I'm wondering of what tips you have to find some side hustles that like are outside of my school, because once the semester is over, those ones are gonna be gone and I won't have them anymore.
Thank you.
You're a business owner, first of all. I don't know, why would you need something outside of your school? It feels like if you have something within the school, you now have all of your schoolmates captive. Those are that's your customer base. You can actually transfer that customer base into an outside business. A tip for finding something to do, I know this is gonna sound crazy, but look at TikTok. What's happening out there? That look at what's happening out there. What are people looking for? Whether it be selling a physical item or selling a service. Do your research outside of the school, but please don't neglect you actually have your captive audience right at school. And no matter what, even when you're done with school, you can still keep those people as your client base.
Yeah, it might be, you might become a lucky entrepreneur in the fact that you only have to operate when school's in session. And then when you're out, you have some freedom. Don't overlook that, right? Look at the opportunities right in front of you and maximize that, right? Yep, great, look for other opportunities outside, but first make sure you're getting the most out of where your work is coming from. Making sure you're getting access to those customers and they are committed to you in the best way they can be. Continue to grow that. And then as I find my business, those customers, word of mouth still is the best way to grow a business. All the marketing in the world can't beat somebody saying, I like what this person is doing in your business. So you want to continue to do that and go as much as possible.
All right, I got a couple questions on this side of the room, and I'm gonna move to the other side.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nancy and Darren, for such an amazing presentation. My question is, Nancy and Darren, what has been in your entrepreneurial journey, what has been your biggest failure that you could really look at, and how were you able to bounce off that and be where you are today? Because most of the time we look at the glory. We envy the glory, but we don't know the story behind it. So would you expatiate on that?
I'll give you a quick one. Right? So my family and I own a big chain of group homes. When we first started, guys, we got shut down within 18 months because we didn't know all the rules. My brother here said, educate yourself in the business. I wasn't a nurse or a doctor, you know, DHS, the Department of Human Services had so many rules. We had to start over from scratch in the 2000s, and now, of course, we have 17 plus group homes here in Wisconsin, and we're thriving, but we got shut down. We lost our license after 18 months of operation, and that failure was the best thing that's ever happened to me, because I've never since then done a business without fully educating myself on what it is that I'm doing. And not just hiring people like, oh, you got it. No, I need to know what you're doing, because if anything happens to you, I need to be able to step in.
That's a great one.
Yeah, I was just saying the same thing. Yeah, do the work. Because for us, when we started the business, between the time we anticipated starting, we're actually able to launch, was 7 months longer than what we wanted to, what we expected, because we didn't do the work, right? And we found that the licensing, which we thought was going to be an easy thing, it literally took us 4 months to get through the licensing, because we made the decision that we found a great opportunity to buy this food truck first, and then went to get licensed in the state of Minnesota. Is a whole different level in terms of what they want to do. We literally was with them weekly to try and get everything approved, had to make changes, had to make improvements, had to make replacements, which we would never have done if we had done all the appropriate work on the front end. So we got delayed quite a bit simply because we thought we were in this great place, but weren't.
Thank you for the question. I love that we always talk about successes, but never talk on the other side of the coin. We have about 5 minutes, and I have 3 more folks that want to get a question in, so we're gonna do like rapid fire. But Mr. Eric Alexander, I'm gonna give you the microphone.
It felt like Janelle was going to revoke my question. It's kind of the way I felt initially. So just one quick question for you. Following a passion or following a market opportunity. So what drove your decision that took you to your side hustle? Was it I have a passion for cooking or a passion for medicine, or is it like so I surveyed the market and that's where the opportunity is? So I'm going where the market opportunity is, or am I going where my passion is?
100% passion. I love my people. 100% passion. I wanted to create a space, and because if you look at what I'm doing, there's not necessarily millions in it for BBE, right? But it's the opportunity of network, the opportunity of growing something bigger than myself, the opportunity of being global. 100% passion.
Yeah, I won't overlook the being able, some folks are going to start a business simply because they're finding, as you said, your family with the maggots, which is weird. But they found a niche, they found a marketing opportunity. But I'm with her on that. It's got to be passion, right? You have to be engaged, and you have to love what you do. Like I said, it's going to be starting out. It's long hours, it's thankless hours. There's going to be a gap between the time you think started and you first start to see any level of results. You've got to be engaged. You've got to love what you do. Otherwise, this is not going to be successful. I don't care what it is.
So thank you.
So I quit my corporate job earlier this year to pursue thank you, a consultancy that I really wanted to do. It's pertaining to DEI, and in the corporate setting, with all the fear that was around, I'm more of a daring person, and I'm like, come on, let's go. So, but I'm not done with corporate yet, and I would like to go back once I graduate in spring. If Nancy, if you were to go back to considering a corporate job, what skills and experiences would you highlight during your time as an entrepreneur to make you more of a compelling person to hire? Because my biggest fear is that I do want to keep my consulting business, but I also don't want there to be doubt that I would be a committed W-2.
Wow, what a powerful question. So first of all, I'm not going back. You don't have to pull me by my hair for that to happen, but if I have to go back, everything that I've done in business thus far is 100 times more grit, more work, because I literally have to depend on myself and God, okay? One day you make 100,000, the next day you have $120,000 insurance bill. You never know with business. So the way I would make myself more appealing to hire and knowing that they can trust me as a W-2, number one, showing them what I've built, why I built it, and showing them what I can do for them to help them scale whatever situation they have going on. But also, I think the right person will see immediately to take any business to fruition and to actual profitability. It actually takes someone that can be really committed, right? And I would, of course, tell them whether I'm keeping the side hustle or not. But definitely transferring the skills from business, it literally trumps any job that I could ever do. What I've done now, I've done 10 hats at one time. I've done 10 jobs in one company at one single time. That's entrepreneurship. So anyone hiring you should be able to see that and give you an opportunity.
Yeah,
And
it's-
congratulations.
It's the skills are gonna depend on what job you're entering, right? Because as an entrepreneur, you're doing everything, right? You're doing management, you're doing risk management, you're doing marketing, you're doing whatever it is. So going back into corporate, depending on what that position is, what skills that they are asking for is here's what I've done in my own business that relate to these skills. Everything might not transfer out of corporate into entrepreneurship, but everything in entrepreneurship transfers back to corporate.
Thank you for the question, and this is our last question.
Hi, I'm Natasha. I'm an account manager. I work for Fortune 500 company. And my question is more for like those of us women or people who live here in Minneapolis that are still in the like ideation phase of wanting to start a side business. And you guys mentioned earlier of like finding a problem or something that you're passionate about. And my question is like, you said you had a family member that with the maggots, like that's really cool and very unique. And that's where I'm at, like the building phase of identifying where those gaps are in the market. So I don't know if there's like resources or content that we can be looking at to start those to get a little bit further on that path. And even just the network that you use to build some of these like very, very niche businesses that I might not have exposure to, like manufacturers. All those little nuances. I don't know if you can give some more.
Come see Nancy. Come to Black Business Enterprises. Get on board with Nancy. They have resources that can help with a lot of that.
Thank you for that plug. Thank you. I love my village, honestly. Really do come and see me because I'll give you an idea, first and foremost. Any of you ever wake up and realize there's something that happened that day that you didn't like and you wish it was different? I'll give you an example. In my house, my laundry room is downstairs. Why? They had 5,000 square feet of room to put my laundry room upstairs. I have to drag my clothes all the way down. That was a problem, right? Guess what? I called my good friend Tone. He made a hole for me upstairs where I could just shoot my laundry downstairs. Now, of course, it took a little bit of money. It's a problem. I found a problem. And I found a solution, right? So every day you wake up, not just you, your friends, your family, your colleagues, everyone has something that they wish was slightly different. There alone, you have a plethora of ideas that you can execute on. So come and see me and I'll help you narrow that down.
And continue to plan it out, right? Begin to set some timelines, establish some goals, create some milestones, as you continue to figure out, continue to work on, okay, here's what the problem is, here's what my solution is. How am I gonna introduce it into the market? How am I gonna develop it? How am I gonna communicate it? How am I gonna grow it? What do I need to create it? Et cetera. Continue to do that work behind it, and that will make it easier. Just don't lose sight, because you're still in the ideation stage, of what it's gonna take to develop that business. Develop your business sense. You know, if there's a license that's a show your way, go study, get that license. There's a lot of things you can do to prepare yourself for the business before you even start that business.
Well, we are at the end of time, and I just want to say thank you, Derek. Thank you, Nancy, for just the knowledge, the insights. I'm hoping that you guys found that this conversation is much more than business. It's not about the income. It's around following your passion, your purpose, being resilient, again, solving a issue, having a challenge, and going to market with that. I'm thinking about this big, beautiful bill, and there's some things that are in this big, beautiful bill that are beneficial for small business owners that no one's talking about. And, if you were in the previous session, what we also were talking about is lowering our tax bracket. And so through businesses, this is a way in which we also work the system and be a part of that, but being intentional. I think about the Black Wall Street that existed. And again, how do we have more Black entrepreneurship, economic development in our neighborhoods, where we're creating job creation, where the dollar is being circulated so much more. Black folks are brilliant. We're innovators, creators, and these are the things that our ancestors have always done. And that, as we think about this current economy, as we think about future generations, we need to be inspirations and show that we too are running and operating thriving businesses and being part of solutions. So again, round of applause to our panelists. Want to thank them for their time,